You keep asking if we're going to drop support for Gorilla Tag on Quest 2. You keep asking if we're going to revamp Forest. You keep asking tons and tons of things. So the amazing Lemming hopped in to our Gorilla Tag fan club this past weekend and answered a ton of those questions. Now, this is something that we'll be doing monthly, and our very important monkey Gorilla Tag fan club members can send in questions, and Lemming hops on live, gives him a shout out, and answers those questions for, well, he did it for a whole hour this time, which is great. And we got tons and tons of great information. And that, along with other events, are just some of the perks that you get for joining the Gorilla Tag fan club. Now you get to be there live, you get to ask him questions live, you get to hear it all live. It's great. We had a whole great time. Everybody was just hanging out. It was a blast. And if you missed it, we got this recording for you so you can get all those answers for yourself. But hey, hopefully in the future, we'll see you in the Gorilla Tag fan club and we'll get you live for these AMAs with Lemming. And hey, maybe we'll even have them with Frank and more team members as well. All right, well, sit back, relax, enjoy. It's a long one.
Few buckshot. Is there ever going to be more games from AA besides Orion Drift and Gorilla Tag? Yeah, I mean that's the goal. Like in terms of like long-term stuff, we want to just keep making things. You know, we want to build new things, we want to add to the stuff that we already have. We want to just keep going further. And so yeah, we absolutely want to keep doing more stuff. At a super high level, it's just like you can only do so many things at once, right? So we've got to prioritize and figure out. But we're also, you know, we're already working on some other stuff internally, and we're hoping to talk about those things soon. But I also just want to be able to make more cool things. Like, uh, I think that Monkey Blocks and Ghost Reactor are great examples of things where it's like, yeah, these aren't like core Gorilla Tag things, but these were like really cool ideas that we had that we thought would be fun to explore within the game. You know, at this point, I think that something like Ghost Reactor and Monkey Blocks, those would actually be great fits for just like a standalone game, right? Like something on its own where the whole game is about those things. I think that that would even potentially work even better than being inside of Gorilla Tag, right? Then we wouldn't need to worry about all the other stuff that's already there. We wouldn't really need to worry about like, you know, we do one thing and it breaks something else, so we've got to do a lot of testing and things. So I think that that's something that could have worked really well, and it's something that you know we're keeping in mind as we're working on stuff for the future. Pizza Law asks, when can we get a Bean's face reveal? What do you mean face reveal? You see Bean's face all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. It seems very disrespectful to Beans that you think, yeah, you haven't seen his face. It's so cute. It's right there. He's got the little party hat on. Uh, Eli Unknown is asking, is the rocket being fixed? I mean, everybody voted to drill deeper. Like they just had to clean up the debris. Like maybe if you guys had voted for the rocket to be fixed, the rocket would be being fixed. But I don't think Gorilla Corp's working on fixing the rocket right now. I think they're working on that big drill that you saw. And then Martin 08057 asks, do you guys have any ideas for the future about the rocket, the alien, and more? I mean, you're just gonna have to wait and see, right? Like we're digging down deeper. That's the latest thing that we're working on doing. You know, you saw the giant drill in the hangar. Like I'd expect to see more about that stuff in the near future. So I would say keep your eyes peeled. Alfred Gate asked, what should I feed my lemming plushie? Look, I'm not sure that you should be feeding your plushie anything. I don't think they can digest anything. So I would be very careful. Maybe something made out of felt. That's probably felt is probably the better a better thing to feed them for now. Whatever their stuffing is made out of. Uh oh wow. Okay, Jackalope VR's got a long list of things, but the biggest thing that I wanted to answer was, are you adding eye tracking? You know, actually, while we were working on the PSVR version, eye tracking is one of the things that we were investigating doing, and we had some early prototypes for it. Ultimately, it was going to be a lot of work to incorporate, and it would have only worked on the PSVR 2 version. originally we were going to try and do crossplay between all the versions, but the problem ended up being that it was really hard to get things deployed to the PlayStation platform. So we weren't able to keep the same update cadence, even if we wanted to. So unfortunately, that's kind of part of the reason why we haven't been updating it. Is that like to get updates there, you have to jump through a whole lot more hoops because it's a console. So we didn't end up putting in the time to get that working. That said, the eye tracking looks really great. I think it would be something that would be really cool to support. Right now, there's not very many headsets that even support it at all. So I think it would be really cool, but kind of the same thing with the inside out body tracking. We wanted to wait until there were more headsets available with it so that like enough people could get the benefit. I think that there's just not enough eye tracking headsets right now. But I think it would be really cool. Like we did the tests and it looks super fun. Like being able to see the eyes look around and look up and down, side to side. It's really cool. So I that's one of those things where I don't think it's worth it generally to pay for a headset with eye tracking, but it's really cool. So I would love to. That's kind of like my top line answers. I really want to. Let's see. Oh, I haven't been keeping an eye on like text chat or anything, but Frank, if you could let me know if anybody's got anything interesting that you want me to ask, feel free to jump in. I'm certainly happy to answer the things that the people in the room are asking about too. Mark and Watch asked, when will Vim come to Steam VR? We're trying to get it in there sooner rather than later. The biggest hurdle is actually like we have our own backend system that's called Mothership. This is how we're developing a lot of our features and stuff that involve like servers and external connections and things. Like that's how you're getting access to Vim through disconnecting your Discord account, that all that kind of stuff. And to incorporate purchasing on Steam is a bunch of extra work. So we're working through that, but it's just not like free and fast. Our thought process was more or less we wanted to get the features out earlier rather than later. So we wanted to deploy it on Meta just because that's what was done first. So we're working on it and we want to get it out soon because we know that like there's lots of people who are missing out because their only platform is Steam. And I want to make sure that this is accessible to everybody as soon as we can. So the answer is we're working on it, but we don't have a specific timeline. Coffee on VRS. Do you ever play any other fan created games? Animal Company, Heaps, Ugh. Yeah, I mean we play everything, right? Like I think that what's really interesting about game development is how collaborative everything is. There's nothing that's just like this is something that you came up with totally on your own, super new idea. Nobody in the history of the planet's ever thought of it before. No, that doesn't really exist, right? Like everything's this, oh, I had this idea, and then someone else has another idea and builds on top of it. And you have this really cool back and forth where everybody's kind of inspiring each other and people are coming up with different ideas. And I think that whole process is really cool. So I love checking out the other games to see what they're working on, see the kind of things that they're building, the twists they put on things. And I think that that's like the best chance that everyone has to just like keep making cooler and better stuff. Like, I think it was really interesting to see stuff like Fortnite, right? Like Fortnite wasn't the first game that did a battle royale. It was a completely different type of game, but somebody else had made some battle royale style games, so they started building on it and they expanded and they added that mode, and then it became really successful. And it wasn't just because um, um, they were already so successful before. It's because they kept building on the ideas and doing cooler and cooler stuff. So I think that's really cool. Like I'm ultimately in this because I just love games and I love playing stuff and trying things out and seeing what's fun and interesting. And yeah, so I have a lot of fun checking out these other games and seeing what they're doing. Man, I usually don't talk this much in a row. I hope I sound cool. Okay, here's one. Crook G tag. How did I get the name Lemming? Okay, this is like ancient times story. So uh there's this team-based shooter game called Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, and it was like an objectives style first-person shooter team game. So instead of just like, push the payload or shoot the other team or whatever, you had to like go and build a ramp or go and destroy this specific objective by planting a bomb on it and making sure the other team couldn't defuse it, that kind of thing. And nobody liked playing the objectives in those games. People were always like scared to die, so everybody's just kind of like sitting back and taking pot shots at each other. But I wanted to win, so I would like just run face first into the objectives because like if you're in a game with like 20 people on each side, that's the only way to win. And I just felt like a lemming. Like I was just running head first and die over and over and over. But it was the only way to get the objective done. So I thought it was funny. And then, you know, it turns out that you end up naming yourself when you're like 13. And that's the name you use online for forever. So that's where the name Lemming came from. Dinko Real YT asked, "Can you give me a shout out?" I can't. I can't read out anybody's names or acknowledge them in any way. We don't have the technology. It's not possible. I'm sorry, Dinko Real YT. You're going to have to wait until they invent something that lets us do that. IDK like yeah, Lemming a bit confused. Yes. I am basically always in a perpetual state of confusion. I'm always surprised that I'm able to even take care of myself. So yes, always confused. Lingo Blingo asked, "Why did I make Gorilla Tag?" That's an interesting question. Um, it's it's always hard to answer like why you do something, right? Because you can think about it, but not really know the real answer. But the thing that I was feeling when I tried to build it in the first place was just like I really loved VR. I really liked Echo Arena. I really loved the feeling of like moving around a virtual world and climbing on the walls and jumping around and having that feeling of being somewhere. And it felt like not many people were building games that way. And I was thinking, like, if I think that I'm right about what I think is really cool about VR and why it's super fun and interesting and what I'm getting out of it, then I should like prove it, Like, it was like, if I think I'm right, then I should show that I'm right. So when I was starting to build it, it was just kind of this feeling of I know that there's something that I really find special about VR, and I want to share that with people and see if maybe other people agree with me. And my goal through that was like, if I make some stuff that's really cool and someone else, like a real game developer, plays it, maybe they would take some of those ideas and put it into their game. Um, and so then I just started making something. And once I had kind of like the tag mode sort of working, that was when I was like, okay, there's actually something to this. This is like super fun, and I just want to keep playing it, and I'm just going to keep working on it to make that happen. Like I think that you can still see a lot of the like really old messages in this Discord in some of the channels somewhere. I don't know exactly where. Um, like, that goes through that whole process. Um, but that's kind of like why I kept working on it so much is because I was showing it off to other people and other people were really excited by it too. So then I kind of just figured like I'll just finish it and I'll put it out there and then the game will be out there and then, people can check it out. And then it really took off and that was the kind of thing where it's like, okay, well, I guess I just have to keep working on this really hard forever because it's just so cool, right? And not many people get this kind of opportunity, and you never know how long it's going to last for. So I just wanted to take it as seriously as I could. All right, I'm going to take a break for like a minute to read some of these things because I haven't been responding to some of my guys. So let me read these things and take a drink, and I will respond in a few seconds. Uh, EJ, EJ VR. Sorry if I mispronounced this. YIJHAY VR. Have you had thought about you giving away your ownership? I mean, I just want to keep making games and stuff, you know? It's like uh I just have a lot of fun building things that other people think are cool. Like, I think that we've got a really awesome opportunity to make something that is meaningful to people and that people really connect with, and they can have this community around it and connect with other people. And that's what I really care about, you know, like, I work super hard in this game, probably more than I should, but it's because I believe in doing that so much. So when I think about like things like the business side of stuff, which is my least favorite part by far, um, that's not really where my goals are. My goals are in making sure that we can keep this really incredibly cool and talented and smart and capable group of people working on this game and our other games for as much as we can. And I just feel very grateful and lucky that I get to be a part of it too. So that's where my thought and focus is. Apex VR asked, "Will there ever be IRL events outside the USA, like in the UK or Europe?" Um, Possibly. We don't have any specific concrete plans right now, but it's all about what we can make work. I think what's really cool about GorillaCon is that because it's part of this existing bigger thing, we were kind of able to be like, okay, let's figure out how to make something happen. Like we wanted to make an event, we wanted to incorporate as many people as we could, and this was like the best vehicle to do it. But the downside is that it's a ton of work. Like we've got a lot of people working super hard on that. We're figuring out how we're going to manage to get all of our people out there, that kind of thing. So it's a case where we're trying to be as accessible to as many people as possible, and that's always going to be kind of a case by case basis. Since we are mostly, North America, United States based, getting everybody out to Europe it would be a lot harder. But the answer is certainly not, never. But no specific plans right now. Shrimp asked, "Are there going to be more Vim cosmetics?" Yeah, I want to keep making more stuff. Like, we've thrown around a lot of ideas, and nothing's final. It's all in progress. But something that I think would be really fun is something like a monthly badge or something. Like not meant to be like some big ostentatious thing, but just like something you can collect by being a subscriber. I think that'd be really cool. Like I know that we have the badges for the different updates for the main game, but I was thinking like it'll just show that you were subscribed in like May of 2026, and we wouldn't make it look so incredible that you like feel bad for missing out, but it would mean that someone who's subscribed during that month can just have this little reminder thing of it. If we did something like that, then I think that maybe it would be more fun if we didn't bring those back. But then that means that we can't make them like super special and exclusive. So we want to hit that balance of like, we want this to be cool and interesting and fun, but not make people feel excluded. So we want to make sure that people have access, like people have the chance to know what they're getting, that kind of thing. But I think that would be fun. And, we're already doing things like the evolving cosmetic, so that they update over time. I think that would be super cool. I want to add more stuff like that, right? Like, so it's not just one. Like, maybe you could buy a wand, and the longer you're subscribed, the flashier and cooler it is, and something like that wouldn't really make sense if you're not subscribed. So maybe that could be a Vim only cosmetic type of thing. I think that would be cool. Corals 21K. Why did you guys add a rocket in the first place? Uh, We added it because someone wanted to add it because we were launching the game, so it's like launching a rocket. And then it's just we forgot to take it out, so it was there forever. Um, so yeah, like there's so many things like that, which is just like someone had a cool idea and added something and it was fun, and then it just kind of becomes part of the game, which I think is really cool. Let me see. Reap asked, "How does it feel getting attacked by the masked monkey?" I mean, I think I looked really cool in that fight, which is probably the most important thing. I like looking cool, and I got to do all the, like, the spinny moves. Zoop, 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 zoop. But we'll have to see. There's a lot of back and forth. I don't like getting my drill tried to be thrown up and you almost hurt all my guys, so that's no good. Marky the maple syrup maker asked, "Will G-Tag and Orion Drift ever collaborate?" We'll see. Who knows where the Orion Drift, where did they even come from, right? Like, did those robots come from Earth? When did they leave? Like, there's a lot of questions. No specific answers right now, but we'll have to see for sure. T2 Astria asked, "Do you or the Gorilla Tag team plan to interact with the art community more or not?" It's interesting. A lot of these things aren't necessarily like specific plans. Like, we're already super busy all the time. So these are things like we want to engage with people. Like things like today, right? We want to do more stuff like this, but we've just got to balance it against how much work we're really doing all the time. So we've talked to a lot of our developers, and they have their accounts linked to this Discord, so they're able to hop in and interact with people and talk to stuff and answer questions. We don't ask them to specifically, like we're not telling people that they have to, because it is a lot of time and effort, right? Like um, talking to people and answering questions and all that kind of thing can be work. So we don't want to ask people to go too nuts. So it's also really fun and gratifying. So it's not like it's just, your job to talk to people, right? It's fun. Like we like doing it. Um, but people also have to live their lives outside of work too. So it's always a balance, right? But we want to have there more ways to engage with the community just because I think it's so meaningful and valuable. Tam Samurai asked, "What is happening? Are you going to dump Quest 2?" Um, this is an interesting question. We've got no plans whatsoever to to get rid of the Quest 2. Like the Quest 2 is what I do all of my work on. Like whenever we're testing things and building stuff, I only use a Quest 2. The only exception is when like for the inside out body tracking, I obviously had to use the Quest 3 for that because the Quest 2 doesn't support the inside out body tracking. But our goal has always been to support as much of the hardware as we possibly can. The biggest reason we actually had to stop supporting the Quest was because you can't support it anymore. Like we literally can't upload any builds that are updates to the Quest original version. So until like Meta makes it impossible to support the Quest 2, I don't see any reason for us to stop supporting it. Like when we're running our performance tests, it's always trying to target hitting frame rate on Quest 2. When we're thinking about like, um, building features and how things should look and what the performance needs to be and how what we can do, all of that stuff is Quest 2 focused. So no, I'm personally, I think that like the Quest 2 is the best example of something that is really capable, but also a really great price. Um, so I just really believe in that format the most. I think that's the best way to get more people into VR is giving them something affordable, not to like try and do more features. Because I think the Quest 2 can already do everything that we really need out of VR. Um, the only thing that I think is way better about the Quest 3 is that inside out body tracking. I think that's really cool. But for everything else, the Quest 2 is awesome. And yeah, I've got no plans to get rid of it. Pretty much unless we're forced to, and it's completely impossible for us to continue supporting it. I want to keep supporting the Quest 2. Um, Amatrix asked, "Will there be more tiers to Vim/GTFC?" That's actually something that we've talked about a lot. Um, we would like there to be, but we don't want to just add more tiers for the sake of it, right? Like we could add a tier that costs like $500 a month, and it's just like the I am rich tier, right? But like we would be doing that for no reason, like I don't want to just have things that give us more money just because we can, you know? Like, I think what I feel really great about for the Gorilla Tag fan club is that I think that we've made something that's really cool and it's really meaningful and valuable for people. So I feel good about having that as a subscription. And if we had any more tiers, then I would want to have that same feeling towards those other tiers, right? Like I would want to make sure if we have something that's a little more expensive or a little cheaper, it's like the right fit for those prices. So right now we're just focused on the one tier that we have because we want to make sure we keep putting more stuff into it, we keep building out features, we keep giving people new ways to play, and if we got to the point where we put enough stuff in this tier and we felt like it was a really great value and we had an idea for something else that would justify like a higher tier or something, then we might do it. But I think that right now we still just need to put more work into the current tier that we have. So I want to do that first before adding in more tiers. So long story short, um, totally possible, no plans right now, and our focus really wants to be on we want to make the this existing subscription as good as we can, and then maybe add stuff in the future. Natsuki's best girl asks, could the volcano or science experiment in basement ever be re-added? That's actually something that uh I don't have any details specifically to share, but I will use that as an example of something that we think would be really cool. Like maybe if you were a subscriber, you could take people to a space that's like a time travel zone, right? And you travel back to when the volcano was in the forest. I think that could be super cool because the problem with stuff like the volcano, right, is that for the people who didn't want to play floor is lava, it was very disruptive. Like it was sometimes hard to find a room where people weren't doing floor is lava. So we couldn't keep it in there forever because it was too disruptive to forest. But it was also super fun, so it was kinda sad that we had to take it out. Um, so maybe something where subscribers could bring people to that map and play it as an optional mode. Maybe that's like a cool thing we could do. So I would say keep an eye out. Like, I think that kind of thing is a really great fit for the subscriptions. Um, um, so I would definitely keep my eyes out, eyes open. What phrase do you use out for? Keep an eye out. Yeah, keep an eye out, not keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes open, keep an eye out. Yes. TFM Bubbles asks, will you add hand tracking? I can neither confirm nor deny that we have hand tracking being actively worked on at the moment. I think that would be super fun. But the downside to the hand tracking is that like to do a good job is actually really hard with hand tracking. And it's not because like you can't track the fingers, but it's more like um it actually feels super weird to push the ground but not feel anything, you know? Like, if you could imagine playing with controllers, but if anybody's played with, like, a controller that's broken or, it was just buggy for some reason and you couldn't feel the haptics, it's super weird. Like, it's really weird to not have the haptic feedback when you're pushing off of the surfaces and stuff. So, actually, one of the biggest problems with the hand tracking is just figuring out a way to make it not feel super weird. So, we've done some experiments and stuff where, like, we have these little like red flashes or something that are meant to like happen when you touch the ground to kind of replace that haptic feeling. So we're working on some stuff, but I wouldn't, or no, we can't confirm or deny if we're working on stuff, but we have experimented with some stuff in the past, and that was what we've seen. But I think it would be super cool. And the other cool thing about hand tracking is that's supported on Quest 2 as well. So something like that wouldn't have to be Quest 3 only, which is really cool. 3J asked, "How do you think up your ideas for Gorilla Tag?" You know, like so much of this is something where it is a really collaborative process. Like one person will have an idea and we'll try something out and we'll play in the game, and then someone's like, "Oh, you know what would be really cool actually is if we did like this or that or this." And then it ends up kind of building up like that. So, it's really important to get inspiration from everywhere. Play other games, read books, watch movies, go on a walk into the park. to try and get inspiration from these different places. But really, the best place to get inspiration is from other people. So all the people that we have, working at the company, everybody's just super talented and super smart, and it's always really fun to be, jamming on ideas with different people. Like if you've checked out any of the game jam stuff that we had, all of those were super awesome, and we're trying to figure out how we can incorporate some more of those into the game and stuff. But really, it's a team effort. I think that's the best way to say it. There's no one person who just like sits in a dark room and comes out with the perfect idea for every update. Like it's always a team effort. Pod two, is there anything Gorilla Tag you don't like currently and wish you could change or will change in the future? Uh, Tons of stuff. Like a lot of the things that are like, we had to do it like this because it was the best option, right? Like a lot of those things just come down to stuff like, we couldn't make the whole world 50 miles wide because the headset can't handle it. So we had to make it smaller and section it off. But if you check out the Critters map, it's so fun having that huge, big open area. But like we had to work really hard to make it work there. And then you can't get it to like work on like like you can't fill it with so much stuff that it runs poorly, but a giant map like that with only 10 people feels kind of empty unless everybody's grouped up and walking together. So, so many things are like trying to figure out how to solve the problem, and some things work and some things don't. Some things you want to fix later, but end up, staying there for a long time. I know that people have talked about how like, the stump area is starting to feel crowded, and I totally agree with that. But we've also got a lot of things that we want to be easy to access, like um, the custom maps. I think those are really cool. So we have that way of getting there quickly. But now, if you're not using the custom maps, there's this extra area that feels a little cluttered. So it's always a balancing act. Like there are lots of problems where there's no like solution that makes everything better. Very often, it's just like what choice and trade off do you want to make, and you do the best that you can. So I think that layout is definitely one of those big ones. You want the game to be accessible, but also feel big, but you don't want it to take so long to get everywhere that it's kind of boring. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like that. Um, then there are also a lot of stuff that are just like tech debt things that, when I was first building the game, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have any experience in game development. So we had a lot of issues that have kind of happened over the years just because I set things up poorly initially. And then you run into cases like recently where we got that super big performance improvement, which was awesome. But if we're spending a lot of time and effort improving the performance, then we can't build new features, right? So the people who are playing a lot and notice the performance improvement are like, this is awesome. But the people who only hop on the game every so often to check out what's new, they're like, this game doesn't feel very different to me than the last time I played. So it's often a hard balancing act even for stuff like that, just because you can't, spend infinite time working on the game. You've got to pick and choose your battles. So a lot of things are like, yeah, this isn't my favorite decision we made, but it helped us get the game out. And I feel good for making that decision, even if it meant some compromises. So when I look at the game and the state of things, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's got a bunch of flaws and warts on it, but we couldn't have gotten there without all of those flaws. So in a way, I still have some affection for them too, if that makes any sense. K Dog VR, can you make a big lava plush or maybe other plushies like Matt the Bat or Mark the Shark? Make more cosmetics for the plushies like gloves or something. I mean, I think those are all fun ideas, and I want to keep making more stuff. Like, we've got a bunch of merch that we're already releasing. We're working on more stuff. Definitely got more stuff on the way. I think those ideas are fun. I don't know what we can talk about specifically or what is exactly in the pipeline, but I would expect to see more like physical merchandise in the future. So I would keep my eyes open. Fruit GT, what collabs would you like to see in the future? I mean, I wanna see this cute little monkey everywhere, right? Like, I wanna do as much as possible. Um, One of the downside of collabs is how much work they tend to be, and that's not, like, a bad thing, right? Like, everybody's gotta figure out what the best thing is for themselves, but it is a lot of work. So we've got a great team of really talented people who are working on things like that. I try to focus more just on the game itself, partially because that's what I'm best at. Um, so these are things that I would expect to hopefully happen more in the future. We've already started dipping our toes into some of those pools. So yeah, I would keep my eyes open. Um, Again, no specific promises. Um, if you just had to ask my personal feeling about it, like, this is not me speaking for the company or the future of what might happen. I've always been a huge Nintendo fanboy. Like, if I could do anything with Nintendo, I would be, over the moon. Um, but I also think that would be difficult to do. So I'm not holding my breath. But yeah, I'm a big Nintendo fanboy. So some kind of Nintendo collaboration, that would be my personal dream. Glitchy Boy, what's my favorite G-Tag OST? I mean, is anybody gonna say anything but Cave Wave? Like, I feel like that's the default answer maybe. Is that too normy? Like, I also really like, um, What the Future Holds. That I think that was the original Clouds Map song from launch, I think. I don't remember. I think so. I have a really bad memory. Chocolate Milk 17 was Super Paintball ever considered? Interestingly, off the top of my head, I don't think so. I think paintball always kind of struggled. It was never the most popular map or the most popular mode. So whenever we're working on stuff like that, like paintball was a lot of work to get set up. This actually goes back to like that tech debt thing that I brought up from before. It's the kind of mode that's actually pretty difficult to like add new stuff to. So since it wasn't super popular at the start, we haven't really put a ton of thought into expanding that mode. And that also probably goes back to what I said before as well about like, things like monkey blocks and ghost reactor. Those things might even work better just as their own standalone game, right? Um, so yeah, never say never, but we do have blasters in super infection, which it's not the same as paintball, but it's got, some paintball vibes in there. I like using the grenade launcher to jump around and like rocket jump and stuff. That's I really like that's super fun. Vortex, how did you come up with the concept of a lava monkey and that they have to tag you? Um, I don't remember the specific day it happened, but when I was first working on like the early prototypes for the game, I was just trying to like designate players as like, okay, this player's it. And then when we got like a full room of 10 people, it was like, okay, well, if only one person is it, then like the person they're chasing is running away, but everybody else just is kind of watching them, like when you're playing tag, like as soon as the person who's it like targets somebody, it's basically just two people playing tag. So then I was like, okay, I think infection is probably a better fit for the mode than tag. So I just downloaded some Unity asset pack, and one of the textures it had in there was a lava texture, and I thought it was like, oh, that looks like pretty standout, like unique. So I just used that, and then it became the infection sign. Like that was just very serendipitous. It definitely looks like there's something wrong with you when your skin looks like lava. So I think it's a great mark of being infected. But yeah, it wasn't really on purpose. It was just kind of like it just sort of happened. So I think it's fun, but it's one of those things that seems deeper than it really was at the time. Like so many things were like that. I was just kind of like, I just need to do something quick. I'll just do this thing, and then it happened. Collarbone YT, with the introduction of 20-player lobbies, if the official release goes well, will you eventually add 30 plus player lobbies? Whew. I don't want to say never, never say never, but the maps are already starting to get pretty crowded with 20 players and it's hard to hear people and kind of thing. I don't want to say for sure no, but that's one of those things where it's like at some point, more is not always better. But who knows? Maybe like special events or special rooms, or maybe we do something. There's some really cool live event going on, and we wanted to pack a stadium or something. We try and jam as many people as we could. So yeah, never say never, but no specific plans. But we'll definitely keep that kind of thing in mind. Like one of the things that I think is the coolest is like those times when you're in a room with people and you're just like, "Hey, let's all go to this other map." And then you have this like gaggle of people running from map to map. I don't know why, but just like those moments are really fun to me. And I think it would be even cooler if like instead of joining new rooms and lobbies and stuff, it was all just like the same lobby of people so you could go back and forth between all those spaces together. Like, honestly, that was kind of the reason behind a lot of what we did for Orion Drift because, like, being able to have one giant station with like 75 people on it all at the same time and being able to just do whatever you want together as a group and not have to worry about servers and stuff, like, it was so cool being able to do that in Orion Drift. And a big part of the reason why we did it was just because we can't do it in Gorilla Tag. So, yeah, there's certainly things we can do, especially with the performance overhead of the improvements we made recently. But I wouldn't hold my breath for 30 players. It's a lot. It also just gets very loud, right? Like it's just 30 people screaming. So VR Mars asked, "Will there ever be a forest revamp?" I feel like it's unlikely that we're ever gonna significantly mess with forest. Like we always want to add like those cool little add new things to play around and jump pads and ice patches and volcano and all that kind of thing. I think all of those things are super fun, but I don't think there's any reason to like fundamentally change the map. Like when we were working on the revamps for like caves and mountains and canyons, those were all because when I was building those maps, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this map with a specific goal in mind. And I wasn't able to do all of those things. Like, not all the ideas I had worked out. So when we did the revamps, it was like, okay, we think we can do those things, but the correct way this time. Like mountains in particular, there were a huge amount of those areas that now kind of have those slides and ramps and banks and things that you can go off of, which I think works super well. But if you go to the original version of mountains, it's so janky. Like you can see what I was trying to do, but it totally didn't work. So like the players who were really cracked and super good at figuring out all the sliding and stuff, they were able to make it work. But most players were just kind of like randomly sliding and crashing into stuff. So the mountains revamp was really about like, hey, let's take this cool map and make it even better by figuring out how to do the thing that we were trying to do, but in the right way. And similar with canyons. Canyons was originally meant to be like a map that was all about like moving back and forth and doing wall jumps and climbing these walls and doing that kind of thing. But the canyon, like all the crevices and stuff, kind of just like people just ended up really not going into them much. And when they did, they would just sort of follow the bottom and then try and run out. So it didn't really feel very dynamic. So reworking it with all of like the ropes and the swinging and all that kind of thing, it feels like it really hit those points much better of like, wow, I'm really like this isn't just, I'm climbing something. It's like I'm swinging, I'm going off the walls, I'm climbing up and down, I'm jumping on the zip line, I'm transitioning from this spot to this spot. So it really helped like it fit the goal. But with Forest, I think Forest is kind of magical because it was the first map that I really built. And it was just like amazing. Like every time I talk to somebody about it and they're like, wow, you did such a good job. You're like, figuring out all this stuff and all these routes and this branching and it all works together so well. And it's like, I just copy and pasted the tree and, like, rotated it and, like, made one a little bigger and one a little smaller. I got super lucky with that map, and it's like, I didn't even know what I was doing when I built it, and I'm not gonna mess with it. Like, there's probably no way I could do a better job on purpose, so I'm just gonna be like, very grateful that we got lucky and it's awesome and I don't want to mess with it. So yeah, no plans on revamping Forest. Maybe if like, I don't know, I had a stroke and went insane or something, but never say never, but certainly certainly no plans. It feels like it would be very counterproductive. Noxide asked, "How do you feel knowing that you've inspired a whole new generation of creators, game developers, artists, content creators, all from a silly little monkey game you made?" It's interesting because I don't exactly think of it as something where it's like, "Oh, I did that," because I was also inspired, right? Like, I didn't just go off and decide, "Oh, I'm so smart, I'm gonna make this perfect game." I was like, "Wow, these other people are doing really cool things, and I really love VR, so I wanna make something too." So it all feels like we're kind of participating in something together, And at its core, like I think it didn't have to be Gorilla Tag specifically, Like I obviously think that it's super special and it's really amazing and it worked out really well. But I think that what people are really connecting to is that space you can be present in with other people and it feels like you're there with other people. And I think that the way the movement is like and how connected you feel to the environment, I think that's what lets you connect to the other people that you're playing with. And I think that the game is really about those relationships. So I feel very fortunate and lucky to be a part of it the way that I am, but I feel like I tapped into something that a bunch of other people were also experiencing. So I feel the most grateful for being part of something that I really care about and other people really care about because I think that's actually harder to find. Like I released the game when I was 31. And up until that point, I didn't really have anything that I was like super into in the same way. So I just feel very lucky that I get to be a part of something that I care about so much. And I think it's really awesome how many people are super young when they're getting into it. Because, all the people building games and making art and drawing stuff and participating, it's everybody's got like such a head start on things, which I think is incredible. So I don't this is the wrong place to say this. I don't feel super old at 36. I know it sounds super old, and I've got some gray hairs already, but I feel like I've got a lot still going, right? But man, if I was starting when I was like 15, I can't imagine where like the kind of stuff that I would be building today, if I had been working on it for 20 years, that would be amazing. So I'm just looking forward to what yeah, give me 14 more years, then I'll be working on it for 20 years. But so yeah, I mean, it feels really cool, and I'm just glad that there's so many people out there who also care about it as much as I do. ZBR, how did you guys come up with the maps? Like a lot of the maps are real life inspiration. Like the cave specifically, if you there's this really cool cave, I forget what it's called, but it's literally like there are these giant crystals that are the size of the room and people look tiny in it and they're just walking on these things like it's amazing. Canyons, there's this place in I think it's Arizona, I'm not sure exactly, it's called Zebra Canyon, and it's pretty much directly inspired by that. It's just amazing seeing how the wind like carved these paths through the rocks. It's just incredible. Forest, it's funny like I visit my parents every so often, and they live kind of out in these forests. And it's so funny, like sitting in forest in the game and looking up at some of the trees. It's like, wow, these trees are pretty big. And then I go and see the trees where they are, and it's like, oh my god, these are way bigger than the trees in the game. Like, except for the comically large tree that goes into the clouds. The trees in real life are even bigger than the trees in the game. Like those are pretty big trees, but they're not that big. So really, it's just about like finding these experiences that we connect with in real life. That's the inspiration for so many things, like the holiday maps, the Christmas maps in particular. I just think about the feeling that I got when seeing Christmas holiday lights when I was growing up as a kid. So a lot of these are really just like real life inspirations. It's something where we're trying to capture the feelings that we've had in other places. Like it's much rarer for it to be something that would just totally came up out of nowhere. Dog VR official, where there be more slots on the friends list. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like that's actually something we've talked about doing. Maybe that's something where it's like if you're a subscriber, you can have more pages of friends, that kind of thing. Because the way the UI is set up, it'll take a little work to get something like that going. But yeah, I would love to add random perks like that in more spots. Game Buster plays. What do you think about the Lego Ideas Gorilla Tag set? I think it's amazing. I think Lego is super cool. Like I always had a ton of Lego when I was growing up, just like making random stuff. I think that would be amazing. Uh, yeah, but it's kind of like how I said before. Like my dream collab would be with Nintendo or something. But like also just if I could see like a real life Gorilla Tag Lego set, that would be awesome. Goofy Goober, Golden Lemming owner. Oh, congratulations. Lemming, why did you make the gorilla body have no legs and only use arms to move? Because real life gorillas have legs and gorilla tag gorillas have no legs. This was like it's actually the same reason that the gorillas only have three fingers, and it's because in VR you don't have legs as an input. You have to stand on your legs in real life. So like if you want to reach the ground in older style VR games, you'd have to like crouch down in real life. But like that's a pain in the butt, and you can't even walk anyway because like nobody has a giant room that like you can just run across a field or something, right? So you have to stand in one spot. So then it's like, okay, well, if I can't use my legs, then I'll just walk on my hands. And if I want to walk on my hands, then I shouldn't have legs because the legs just get in the way because you can't control them. Like if you've ever played Echo Arena, when you're flying around in that game, you have legs, but since you can't control the legs, you feel kind of like paralyzed almost. Um, it makes me think of like when you're swimming and you're on your back and your legs are like kind of floating. Um, you just want to like grab your legs and pull them in because they're not really doing anything, you know? And it was the same thing there. So like whenever I played that game, I was like, man, these stupid legs just keep getting in the way. Why not just take them out? And it's the same thing with the hands. Like you only have three fingers because on the VR controllers, you use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the controller. So you can only move your thumb, index, and middle finger. So it's like, okay, I could either add five fingers and you can't actually control your last two, or we could only give you three fingers and then you can control each finger. So it was really about saying, like, okay, this is just going to work better in VR. Like, why add something that makes it worse if we can just take away things that feel bad? So that was the reasoning. It was not like a concepty thing. It was purely a trying to make it work for the technology that we have. And I think it ended up working out great. Just like the monkey's very identifiable. If you see that gorilla with no legs and three fingers, you know exactly what kind of gorilla it is. It's a gorilla tag gorilla. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, it was not an artistic choice. It was just a gameplay choice. Um, all right, we're getting up on an hour. How long did we say this was going to be? I feel like there's no way we said it would be longer than an hour, right? Like I'm losing my steam. I don't think we made any promises, so I think an hour sounds about good. I'm running out of juice. I gotta I gotta take a nap or something. So I'll answer one more question. Um, so from Awesome Sauce, what can you predict Gorilla Tag to look like in the next 5 years, community and development wise? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. So I can say what I can hope for, but the reason I say I have no idea is because so I released Gorilla Tag a little bit over 5 years ago now. And back before I released it, and I think you can even find this in the Discord somewhere. Um, but I remember that my goal with the releasing the game was if there was always at least one full room of people in Gorilla Tag so that I could always jump in and play whenever I wanted, I would have considered that a success. Because back when I was first prototyping the game, I had to bug people and ping them to try and get everybody on to play. So if whenever I wanted, I could just hop on and play Gorilla Tag, that would have been my idea of success. I There's no way I could have predicted what happened in these past 5 years. There's no way I could have predicted that we'd be where we are today. Um, it was completely unfathomable to me that any of this stuff would have happened. So I know I'm not a reliable predictor, but I can say what I hope will happen. And I hope we can just keep expanding and growing. I think my favorite part about the game is how many people are able to form connections that are difficult to form in real life. I know that the way that things are set up these days, it is often difficult to connect with other people. As you get older, the way the schools are set up, the way that things are built in our society today, they're really about making it harder to form real connections with other people. And I think what's so special about VR is that even though it's like, you know, this really technological thing, what it gives you is the opportunity to feel like you're in the same room as another person. And it's not, you know, there's not a million people all in the same room, all screaming at each other like social media. It's not, um, you know, people just typing at each other and reading words that are often difficult to understand. You are in a place and it feels like you're just playing tag with people, just like you would in real life. And I think that's really special. And I think that that is the most amazing thing to me about the technology is giving you that opportunity to feel like you are having a real connection with another person. And what I hope is to keep giving that to people, you know, like I want to keep building, I want to keep keeping the community growing. I want to keep making games for people. I want to keep building on the technology. I want to keep growing and sharing and building. And that's what I really care about doing. And I think that's the most meaningful part to me. Like, you know, even something like this, right? It would be so much better if we could do this in person. And it would be even better if we could do it in VR compared to Discord, right? Because I'm just looking at a sea of avatars, and you know, I'm not even on video right now. And I think VR is special because it can make it feel like you're present with other people. So, yeah, I just want to keep going. I want to keep building. I think that this game is really meaningful for people, and I want to give that meaning to as many people as possible and make it accessible to more people. I hope VR keeps going. I want it to keep growing and expanding. I'm hoping that there are more low cost headsets so that it becomes more accessible to people. I know that VR used to be super expensive and it's already, you know, much cheaper than it's ever been. And I hope it gets even cheaper and even more accessible to people so that we can get more of these connections. And yeah, I just want to keep going, you know. So I'll feel very lucky if we can keep doing just what we're doing today for the next 5 years. But you know, who knows? I couldn't imagine where we would be today 5 years ago. And similarly, I hope that I can't imagine today what things are going to be like in another 5 years. Um, so yeah, thanks so much everybody for being here. Thanks for being very important monkey. I'm going to do my best to hop into the game more often, and I'm going to try and be in more Vim spaces, especially. Not just because you know you guys are very important monkey, but because often it's easier to talk to people in the Vim spaces than it is to just go into random public rooms. So that's been really great. And yeah, thanks for everybody for being here. And I hope we get to do more of these soon in the future. So let us know what you thought. Let us know if there's anybody else you'd like to hear from. You know, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but we've also got, you know, artists and engineers, and we've got people working on this game and other games and stuff. So yeah, let us know what kind of events you'd like to do, what you'd like to see. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of it. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their uh it's Saturday. Saturday. Yeah. All right. Happy weekend, everybody. See you later.